Welcome to the Be Bold, Be Birmingham podcast. We're here to dance to the beat of Brum's drum. We're here to sing the soul of our city. Birmingham 2022 is just round the corner, and we're here to tell you about the amazing city, Birmingham. I am Melzy J, your host for Be Bold, Be Birmingham, and here is my host, Ben.
Hello. This is a bit weird, isn't it, Melzy? We're working from home. It's a working from home world. What a start to 2022. It's not the one we imagined, but it's the one we're presented with.
It's a bit of a shame. I feel like I'm disconnected from you, Ben.
It's true, but there are pros and cons because I'm getting to do this in my slippers.
Please don't show your slippers, Ben. I'd rather everybody not see that. So we've got some amazing guests today. We've got Nigel Harris, creator director of Jelly Bop. He is a veteran of children's TV with over 35 years experience in the industry. He's a film BAFTA winner for Teletubbies, probably one of my favourite programmes back in the day. And he's also produced Rosie and Jim. How are you, Nigel?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, good to see you. It's a shame we're not all together. I was looking forward to meeting everybody, but here we go.
Do you know what, Nigel? Usually, I'm very excited to have you here. I know we've met a few times, mainly because of my obsession with the character Brum. And usually on this podcast, we've got a table with Brum, like a remote control Brum, on the middle of the table, which I managed to get on eBay, but it's from Woolworths originally. I was keen to show you it. You basically sculpted my sort of childhood. Oh, look at that.
Yes, it's the same one that we have. I've been trying to steal it, Nigel.
Yeah.
Have you?
She's succeeded a few times, but he keeps driving back.
And of course, we've got the lovely Ben Wooldridge. He's the communications and marketing manager for the Birmingham Commonwealth Games. Ben has also been head of strategic comms at Birmingham Rep. He's got over 10 years experience and is a huge advocate for arts and culture. I'm a big lover of art, theatre. That's where my journey started. So I'm really excited to speak to you today, Ben. How are you?
No, thank you for having me. It's great to be here. Like you say, sad we can't be in person, but very excited to be here all the same. And start the new year with a new podcast.
Absolutely, yeah. And am I right in thinking this is the job at the Rep is quite a new venture for you?
Yeah, yes, I'm going back to the Rep as head of comms there from Monday. So
awesome.
My first day back on Monday, which is exciting. So I've been with the games, overseeing them kind of setting everything up for this exciting festival that's going to be officially announced with their full programme in February. And then it all kicks off in March. So it's very exciting.
How's it been working on? The Commonwealth Games is pretty much everywhere in Birmingham at the moment. It's a huge thing. How's it been to work on such a big project, Ben?
Yeah, it's you kind of can't get your head around the scale of it, to be honest. It's just such a massive venture for the city, and you get pages of new starters every week, but it's just everyone is so excited to be there, to be working on something so massive, and then kind of this Birmingham 22 Festival, which is the culture festival that will run for 6 months around the games, is a whole different beast in itself, and a whole different kind of way that people can communicate and connect with the games in a way that's not just going to the sport. I'm not going to lie, I'm not the sportiest person. I was never picked for PE, but the festival is the way of it. Oh no, I was never any. I didn't want to be picked, to be honest. So
Ben, I would have picked you. I would have had you on my team.
But the games is definitely going to be, it's bringing something to the city, no matter whether you love sports, you never engage with sports. It's bringing something that literally everyone can engage with.
It's like a surge of energy, isn't it? It's like a sort of wave of energy. And I'm similar. Like, I know I look like an absolute athlete, but the truth be told, I'm not that interested in sport either. But I am interested in people coming together and the sort of like feel good spirit of what something like this can bring. So yeah, that's cool. Talking of like the spirit and people sort of coming together, and Brum specifically, as in the car Brum that all Brummies know and love, all people around the country know and love. What do you think Brum would be doing right now as we head towards the games? Do you think he'd be excited, Nigel?
I think it's the perfect scenario for Brum. Really, it's just such a shame that we're not making it now. I mean, I have to say, I didn't produce it. I directed Brum, and I wrote 6 episodes of the last series. So it's pure gold, isn't it? It could be TV gold if he was here to do the games. He'd definitely be looking out for it. He'd definitely be keeping an eye open for any cheating anyway, and any dodgy characters.
Absolutely.
Anybody up to no good. So I think he'd make sure that it all started on time anyway.
I really hope they get him involved in the opening ceremony somehow, or the Queen's baton relay. Can you imagine little Brum holding the baton around Birmingham? That'd be amazing.
That'd be so cool.
He'd have to rescue it first. He'd have to rescue it. There'd be some baddie that wants to steal it, and he'd have to get it off them.
And talking about Brum, Nigel, how did that kind of opportunity come around for you?
Well, I was working for Ragdoll Productions at the time with a chap called 𝗣𝗥𝗢𝗨𝗗. He's a leader in the field of comedy performance and physical theatre, so I was very lucky to work with him. He worked with 𝗣𝗥𝗢𝗨𝗗 and Théâtre de Complicité, and he's a recipient of the Perrier Comedy Award. So he worked with me to work with the actors to heighten the comedy performance, and we kind of reinvented Brum for a modern audience, because Brum had already been out for a previous series, but we wanted to bring it up to date, make him less passive, more of a superhero. So we created a new world of characters like Mr. Brillo, played by Rob Thurtle, and Granny Slippers, and we had some new baddies, and we kind of defined this strong visual narrative, which was stronger than before, using references from Laurel and Hardy and Buster Keaton and all the silent comedies, really, because I mean that's what Brum is. It's a silent comedy.
We are.
So we used all that, and so really made every shot count. So every shot helped tell the story, so that you could watch Brum with the sound off, and you still get it.
That's awesome.
I think Birmingham, we have our own little bants and our own little way of doing things. Do you know what I mean? And how do you feel like that show specifically has inspired people in Birmingham?
Well, it's incredible, really. I was in LA last year, and they know these shows that we make here, and they just think that we're like gods to them. So if we can get Brum mentioned around the world, and it puts it on the map, and it's honestly, it blew me away how people that from other countries see these programs, and they just think they're amazing.
Wow.
I mean, Birmingham Council had something to do with the first series. I think they had an investment in it, and I think that's really important that they back programs like that, because I think children's television gets underestimated, really, how important it is on a global scale. And I know we'll talk about Teletubbies later, but these shows go around the world, and they go to 130 countries and get translated, and it puts us on the map more than any other show that we make, probably.
I did actually have a question, Nigel, about, you mentioned Teletubbies, and so I mean, Rosie and Jim was like my flex as a kid. That was like, that sort of sculpted me who I am today. I love Rosie and Jim, but you've got Rosie and Jim on one side, and you've got Brum on the other side, and obviously they're two rag dolls that can talk, and they're a car that comes to life, but then you've got Teletubbies, which is like something very, very different in terms of abstract thought, and there's a whole world there that exists for the Teletubbies. Can you kind of talk about sort of how you get into that kind of world? It's pretty interesting to me.
It's a funny one, because it's when you're doing it, you just do it. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm weird, but
it's a very artistic answer.
At the time.
Yeah,
I didn't think it. I just thought it was just normal. It was only.
We just put a baby.
Teletubbies. It was.
We just put a baby in the sun. Just totally normal. Yeah.
I just got it, I think.
Wow.
And you've got to believe in what you're making.
Yeah.
And I trusted Anne Wood, of course, and Ragdoll. I mean, Ragdoll spend a lot of time. They spend years developing these shows.
Right.
And reinvesting their money into the development. And you can't make these things quickly. I don't know how long they were developing it for, but it was at least a couple of years.
Yeah.
Getting it right and trying things out and things. By the time you get to to shoot it. I mean, it changed name as well. It used to be Teddy's, I think was its original name.
Wow.
And it became Teletubbies. And of course, with the TV in the chest and things, we didn't really know how it was going to work. But you just go, oh, it's fine, because it will be that, it will be. You just have to accept it and get on with it. And the research is there, and you know that the program is going to work. I don't know whether the BBC knew what they were going to get when we first made it, because it was just so weird. I think they were probably quite worried, but it turned out to be, I think, the biggest money earner for BBC, I think, ever.
Wow.
That's huge.
It's, you know, we know how big it got. So I think you just got to trust your instincts sometimes with these things.
Yeah.
We got a lot of flack, and there was a lot of publicity, negative publicity from the Sun. There was helicopters flying around the set, trying to get photographs of all the actors without their costumes on, trying to stir up some sort of scandal. And we were all told the press might be listening to your phones, and it all got a little bit crazy. To be honest,
That is mad.
It must be quite fun.
It was a bonkers time.
Yeah.
It must be quite fun to work with the different characters, though, because I feel like it takes a special kind of person to be like a children's entertainer. There's a lot of kind of energy and lightness and fun that goes into that. Like, it must have been like vibes all day on set.
I'd like to say it was, but there's a lot of pressure on to shoot a lot of material, and especially with Teletubbies, anybody that's worn a skin costume will tell you that you can't wear them for that long. And if you're shooting across the summer, they have to take their heads off. They've got to have time to come out and breathe, because there are people in there. And sometimes it's tempting to just keep filming, but you can't. So we have health and safety limitations. Obviously, they have to get their heads off and costumes off and things. So it takes a long time, and it takes time to put the costumes back on and get them all back on again. And it's you've got to shoot so many minutes a day. We do have fun with it. It is great fun. And you're right that the performers are very in tune with their characters. It's not taken lightly at all. It's not a barrel of laughs. It is a very, everybody's very professional and takes it very seriously. The characters are all very different. They know their characters inside out. They know what they would do and what they wouldn't do. And their characteristics, if you look at them, they're all very different. Very different. And it's important for the children so that different children identify with different characters. And it's important to have that, like in any production, any stage production as well. It's important. It's all down to production values, and there's very high production values on all the programs that I've done with Ragdoll.
And I think it's also the theme song as well. I feel like a theme song can I remember the Teletubbies theme song, and I don't even remember other music that I might have listened to. You just
Melzy,
yeah.
Prove to us that you can remember it.
Teletubbies, Teletubbies. Wait.
Brilliant.
Say hello.
You're right.
Brilliant.
You're right. I mean, that got to number one, of course.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was released. It did get to number one. But you're right. The theme tunes are very important as well. Like Rosie and Jim. Everybody still sings Rosie and Jim, Rosie and Jim. Yeah. They're all very memorable, and it's Andrew McCrory-Shanley is a genius, but you always remember the theme tunes.
Have you got any standout, looking back at that time, which must have been super exciting when television was as big as television was going to get, and you've got the show that's the most successful show on BBC. Are there any standout moments that, looking back, that was that was mad that happened?
Well, of course, when we were making it, it wasn't on TV.
Yeah, of course.
Nobody knew it.
Wow.
So we were making them cold. We didn't even know what the audience reaction was going to be. But from the first programmes that we made to the last programmes we made, we made 200, 300 of them or something. There was no change. They were consistent from the first one to you wouldn't know from the first programme to the last programme. Yeah. That's how well worked out the scripts were and the stories and the characters were. And I think that says a lot for everybody that's involved. And all these things, it's the same with anything. It's not one person that does it. It's a huge team of people. And everybody pulls their weight. Everybody's really working together. That's the best thing. And that's what I really enjoy, is working with a team of people who are all pulling in the same direction to make this product or put this show on. And I'm sure, Ben, it's the same for you, but in the theatre, but everybody's pulling in the same direction. It's just a really great feeling to work with people like that.
And I have to ask you, Nigel, who is your favourite Teletubby?
Oh, I couldn't possibly say.
Come on, Nigel. Come on.
I couldn't. Buy me a drink and I'll tell you.
Ben, what about you? Out of those, Rosie and Jim, I saw you nodding when Rosie and Jim was mentioned. Is that like you? Is that your favourite? Same as me?
Rosie and Jim is definitely. I think Rosie and Jim is actually part of some of my earliest memories. I remember my great uncle Pat picking me up from nursery, walking us home. We'd have jam sandwiches and watch Rosie and Jim, me and my brother. It was, I loved Rosie and Jim. And I don't know if you remember, there was a ragdoll shop in Stratford-upon-Avon that I loved going to. And they had the Rosie and Jim barge in the Stratford. And Mum and Dad thought it was great because that was a free day out for them. Take us along to that and we'd be happy as Larry just going on the Rosie and Jim barge. It was an amazing shop. I was so sad when that shop closed.
Hey.
Yeah, they've still got a little Rosie and Jim above that shop.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yes, yeah.
So Ben, you're alongside your work with the Commonwealth Games, which you spoke about a little bit earlier. You're a huge advocate for the arts, theatre specifically. What is it that draws you to theatre? It's a broad question.
Well, I've always enjoyed theatre, but I think it's the theatre and I suppose arts and culture scene in Birmingham especially is just amazing. Like, we're so lucky on what we have on our doorstep that I've been lucky enough to kind of forge my career in publicity and communications marketing just within Birmingham, because there are so many options. I've worked with Birmingham Royal Ballet, Birmingham Hippodrome, the Rep. We've got such amazing institutions that all kind of offer something slightly different to an audience as well. So you can go and see a big musical at the Hippodrome, then the Rep has more can have a drama that's produced right here in Birmingham. They build all the sets, they build all the costumes, then the Hippodrome will host something that's come direct in from the West End. And there really is so many options. And again, just down the road we've got the Royal Shakespeare Company as well, which is kind of one of the biggest institutions culturally in the UK, so we're so lucky.
I'm like a huge fan of like theatre. For me, like, I've always done like performing arts growing up, and you know, you kind of look at London as like the main city to go to for theatre. You've got the big West End, and it's like, if you want to be this big actress, you need to make sure that you go to London. But you come to Birmingham, we've got these cute little hubs of smaller theatres and larger theatres, and there's different productions from, you know, I saw the Bob Marley production.
Oh, yeah.
That was amazing. Do you know what I mean? And then the Swan was there as well. So it's like, there's so much variety. Why do you think theatre's important in Birmingham, would you say?
I think it's that key word that you just used, is variety. That is, so we are a city with so many different people from so many different walks of life, and I think we're getting there. Our theatres are getting better and better at catering for all of those different people as well. And I really genuinely believe, you know, some people say, oh, I don't really like the theatre, or I don't really go to the theatre. Theatre can be so many different things on so many different levels that it can literally cater for everyone in every different form. For example, going back to the Birmingham 22 festival that's going to happen next year, there'll be a lot of theatre in that, but that won't be in traditional spaces. You won't have to buy a ticket, go and sit down, pay 50 quid or whatever. You'll literally step out on your doorstep and you'll see stuff on your doorstep for free. Wow. That's about you, about your community. So yeah, it can be anything and everything, and I think our city is getting better and better with more investment, is getting better and better at bringing it to as many people as possible.
That's brilliant. I mean, like, well, firstly, just on that point, that sounds really exciting what you were saying about the Commonwealth Games. Is that information that we can look at the moment, or is that sort of watch this space?
Yeah, so it's birmingham22.com/festival. There's a few bits and pieces announced at the moment, and then there's going to be more announced towards the end of February with the full programme that's literally hundreds and hundreds of different artistic works. But for example, the festival kicks off on the 17th of March through that weekend with Motion House, and they're bringing a brand new production called Wondrous Stories to Centenary Square, and it's going to be massive. So a real aerial spectacular, aerialist flying over people's heads, projection, a community cast of around 300 people. It's going to be amazing, and it's completely free for people to go along to.
Sounds incredible, Ben. The other thing I wanted to ask you about is, Melzy, you touched on this in your question just a second ago, but the idea of sort of we talk a lot on this podcast about Brummies being a little bit shy about blowing their own trumpet, or however you want to talk about that, and I've done a bit of research before on theatres in Birmingham, and I think I'm right in saying, although you're the man to correct me if I'm wrong, but like the Hippodrome is the most visited theatre in the country.
Yeah, it's one of the most. I think it's the most visited theatres in the country, with about 500,000 visits per year.
Wow.
Yeah, it's just incredible, that statistic. And so we've got the Royal Ballet, we've got things to really shout about. But then we had, and I'm sure you're familiar with Janice Connolly, aka Barbara Nice. We had her on the podcast a little while back, talking about comedy in Birmingham, but also a little bit about theatre with her work in theatre. And she was sort of encouraging people just to make like art or theatre, just to do it. Just get your friends, get a notepad, write some ideas down, and just do stuff. Whether that be comedy, I suppose script writing, theatre, whatever it is. Are there spots in Birmingham that you can sort of tell us about where people who are interested in theatre maybe can try it out?
Yeah, well, definitely there's going to be more opportunities within the Birmingham 22 Festival coming up, where people will be actively encouraged to get involved in many, many different ways. But there's also, the likes of Midlands Arts Centre, the MAC in Cannon Hill Park, is an amazing resource for people to go along to and get involved in different activities, from family activities to art to dance to everything. Dance Exchange as well, based at the Hippodrome, is an amazing resource for learning different things, giving things a try. And then the Rep again has so many different. There's the Young Rep scheme, which is one of the best youth theatres in the country. So there's so many different ways you can get involved, and I think literally you could go on any of our theatres' websites, to be honest, and find something you could, different ways you could be involved in that doesn't cost anything as well.
Wow. That's
and
amazing.
I really love how like there is that kind of connection to London as well sometimes with the opportunities, because my cousin, she's currently doing Royal Ballet in London now, but she kind of went through Birmingham, did it at school first, did a bit of work at the Birmingham Hippodrome, and it's such a great experience. She's only like 13, 14.
Yeah.
And she's in the Nutcracker, and it just goes to show like it doesn't matter where you come from. You start to create, you start to kind of follow your passion, you follow your heart, it will happen. The opportunities are there.
Yeah, and I think, like I said, that with the right investment, we're getting better and better at kind of giving those opportunities. So another amazing thing that's happening as part of the festival, applications have just closed, but it's a scheme called Creative City Grants. So Birmingham City Council have given funding, I think it's around £2 million worth of funding, for around 150 community groups to create their own art as part of the Birmingham 22 Festival. And that's any community groups. It can be, it doesn't have to be theatre or drama, it's choirs, it's football clubs, LGBTQ clubs, anything like that are given grants of up to £20,000 to create something amazing as part of this festival, and it literally can be anything. So I think we're going to see some really exciting stuff and lots of ways people can be involved.
That's incredible.
So hopefully I should be seeing you acting there as well, Ben. No.
You
Oh, me?
definitely won't be seeing me acting.
No, then.
Yeah, I don't think. No, I won't be. No. I'll be watching. I'll be front row seats. Nigel, I'd love to come back over to you and talk a little bit about Birmingham, but not so much from sort of like a children's TV perspective. Obviously, there's been a bit of focus on Birmingham more recently in the last sort of 5 or 10 years or something, and there's been, I suppose, Stephen Knight, who I think we're going to talk a little bit more about a bit later on, but Stephen Knight, the guy behind Peaky Blinders, and Steven Spielberg I think maybe has come over a couple of times to Birmingham to film like big films, and also, of course, Tom Cruise pottering around. Was he actually there? Wasn't he there? Did he eat a curry? Who knows? If you don't know what I'm talking about, just type in like Tom Cruise Birmingham, and there's a whole world of conspiracy theories. Anyway, I just wanted to ask you about how you describe the sort of film industry on a wider scale in Birmingham, and whether it's changed over the years.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not actively involved in the film industry as such, because I'm working in television, and they do tend to be very separate.
Right, okay.
But I am aware of, because of Create Central, and also a lot of people that I know are working in the film industry. So I'm aware of what's going on, and there is a lot more going on at the moment. I mean, as you say, we've had Ready Player One was made in Digbeth. Steven Spielberg was here, Tom Cruise. But also, we've had small acts with John Boyega in Wolverhampton. Peaky Blinders film at the Black Country Museum. Kingsman filmed part of Golden Circle in town, which a lot of people don't know. The chase scene with the taxi was actually Birmingham doubling as London.
No.
Which is incredible.
Yeah. Do you find that, like, when you're watching TV or films and stuff, and you see like a little, hang on, that's Birmingham. I know that building. I get that absolutely.
I'm terrible. I'm always Googling while I'm watching. Where was that?
Do you know what, the first season of Line of Duty? Sorry, I was like, whoa, that's my bus route. And I was working in radio at the time, and I went, and my co-presenter was like, I was telling her, I was like, can you believe Line of Duty? And it's set in Birmingham, and you can watch it, and you can just see Birmingham. What I didn't know is that my co-presenter was literally an actor in Line of Duty, and I totally missed that, but I'd noticed the city around her, and she was like, did you have any thoughts on the acting? I was like, yeah, it's great. Ridiculous.
No, it was great. It was, I mean, I'm the same, because the dual carriageway down by Dunlop was where they filmed the final shot, where he got knocked over as well. So but we say all this, but it's television, it's film tourism, television tourism, and that's people love to go to these locations, and they find out where they were filming. We had it with Rosie and Jim, because we were on the canals, that people would always go to the places we filmed at, and everywhere we went said, God, we get loads of visitors come because Rosie and Jim have been there. I worked with Jason Manford on 𝗣𝗥𝗢𝗨𝗗. He was in one of the guests in one of the episodes, and he said he'd had more interest because he'd been in 𝗣𝗥𝗢𝗨𝗄s than anything else that he'd done.
That's ridiculous.
It's just it's crazy.
But if you walk down,
we've got a lot more going on here, I think, than ever we've had before.
Yeah,
we've got such versatile architecture. We tend to sort of double Birmingham as a lot of other places. I mean, we've doubled as Poland, I think, in a Michael Keaton film as well.
We get doubled as Venice in a lot of tourism books, but we won't
get into that.
Yeah. We don't need to talk about that now.
And Nigel, obviously a lot of people are kind of interested in getting into TV and film. And, some people maybe go to drama school, or some people maybe go to university, some may volunteer. Obviously, we're in a whole new generation now of social media, the internet. What ways and what advice would you give to someone that's interested in working in TV and film?
Well, I would say there's a lot more going on now than ever there has been before. The television and film industry in the Midlands is desperate for more diversity.
Wow.
It's got a history of not being diverse, and I don't know whether it's because it's seen as not being accessible. People have to think they have to go to university, or it's just not an accessible job. It's getting better, but we've got BBC coming to Birmingham soon. We've got BBC Three here. There's a lot more roads in than there used to be before. a lot of training courses. Create Central, people should look on the Create Central website, because there's a lot of opportunities there for training and for training people up.
Nigel, can you just expand on Create Central? I know you're quite involved with it, but it'd be great to hear a little bit more about what Create Central is and what it does.
Well, I was a founding member of Create Central in year one, and I still work with them now. It's an industry body basically for the creative industries, and it's made up of members that are creative thinkers and change makers in film and television, and other creative sectors as well. It's not just film and television, it's the games industry, anything that's creative we deal with, and of course it's a very changing time at the moment for film and television, because the games industry and film and television are kind of crossing over more than they've ever done before, because we've got virtual production, we've got with the LED screens where I think Spielberg, Star Wars. Start showing my age. Star Wars. They use these LED screens, didn't they? So they don't actually go on location. They just dial it all up on the screen behind.
Right.
So that's really coming out of the games industry. I mean, in Leamington, we've got this huge games industry with lots of young people going into that, and that is moving into television and film. So it's a really kind of exciting time for this kind of soup, and I think there's jobs now which is kind of just being invented, which weren't here 5 years ago.
Wow,
so it's a really exciting time for programming, for lots of things which weren't around 5 or 10 years ago in television, which aren't traditional television jobs, but they're to do with compositing or to do with designing backgrounds and graphics, and you just can't tell when you watch things now. It's probably been filmed in a room somewhere.
Yeah.
I'm really trying to get back into theatre, Ben. Okay, I'm trying to go to Ben Wooldridge.
I thought you were asking me to be like to start a play with you or something.
Ben, if I was to do a play, it would be like a monologue, dark stage.
One woman only.
One woman show. Maybe some voiceovers here and there. Sometimes you get out of tune of like going to the theatre or going to those creative spaces just because of lockdown. Do you know what I mean? Kind of being in those environments make people feel a little bit anxious, a little bit like, ooh. But obviously I can see everyone's putting in the necessary safety measures to ensure like people are safe and secure in those kind of environments. I really want to get back to watching theatre and just immersing myself into creativity. What would you recommend to go and watch, or what's coming up in Birmingham that you can kind of, let me know?
Well, I have to say, like, I think everyone should be visiting the Rep sometime soon.
Okay.
Mainly because it's our theatre, it's Birmingham's own theatre, and how amazing that we have our own theatre that's producing its own work. It's producing stuff for the city, in the city, from the sets, from the costumes. Everything is being created right here in Birmingham. I think that's really special and something we should be supporting. They've got a great new show coming to England, which is adapted from 𝗣𝗥𝗢𝗨𝗗 Benjamin's book for children that's coming up about her journey to England and her life after that, and it sounds incredible, and I think that's going to be really, really a real special moment for the city. But then there's so much else going on, and I think with the likes of the Hippodrome and the Alexandra as well, some of the like literal biggest names. If you're thinking, I need to go back to the theatre, if you want to go and see your Mamma Mia, your We Will Rock You, they're here and they're in the city, like in this next year. Les Mis, like everything you could wish for. You don't need to go down to London. It's literally coming to our doorstep over the next year, and I think that's really, really great.
But did you have any sort of hopes and dreams for the theatre scene in Birmingham that you wanted to share? I'd
really like to see Birmingham becoming, a place that people actively travel to see some of the best theatre, because we have some of the best theatre in the country, and I think the likes of the Rep are really going to help us in building that over the next couple of years. I mean, even since reopening since the pandemic. They had What's New Pussycat, which is a brand new musical, Tom Jones musical, never seen anywhere else, world premiere, which was a really big deal. And that opened, and then they had Play What I Wrote, and Tom Hiddleston was here for a few performances. They brought Loki to Birmingham, so they know what they're doing. So I think the more names we start to attract to the city, the big shows. I'd love to see some real big shows start their life here in Birmingham and have a real life thereafter here in the West End, over on Broadway. I'd really like to see something start here and go massive. So yeah, that's my hopes.
And
Thanks,
if someone
Ben.
was to come like out of town from London or from another city to get involved in the Commonwealth Games, or just want to come to Birmingham in general, could you take us through like a day out, a creative day out in Birmingham? Where would you go? Where would you take them? You can include lunch as well if you want, Ben.
Okay. Oh, this is hard.
You can do this. You can do it.
Well, hopefully a Birmingham Museum and Art Gallery will be reopening very soon, and I think that's a great way to start the day, and such an amazing space, and carrying on to Icon Gallery as well. It's not just the theatres, we have some really great space, but I do love a 2-show day. It's nothing better than going from a matinee,
Yes.
having a bit of dinner, and then going over for an evening as well. So I'd probably maybe do a matinee at the Rep, something at the Rep, and then go over to the Hippodrome, I'd have to say. Probably, I'm going to drop Birmingham Royal Ballet in there over in the evening, because, again, what other cities have a Royal Ballet Company in their midst? And, like, to have Carlos Acosta working out of our city is pretty amazing. So I think the more we can shout about that, the better as well, and people definitely need to give the ballet a try. Again, ballet I think can be a bit scary to some people. What I would recommend is the BRB are really good at doing these kind of double bills or triple bills, which is great because you can go, well, it's 3 opportunities for wine to start with, because you got before the show, then in one interval, and then you get a second interval. So for me, that's great. You get 3 glasses of wine in there, which is perfect. And then you get to try 3 different ballets as well, and they usually are completely, you've got very one traditional, very one that's more contemporary, and you get to try a bit, and you can usually get tickets for £10-15. So that's something I'd really recommend people doing when they come to Birmingham.
Awesome.
I've
Good
done that
answer.
myself, actually. I've been this year, Hobson's Choice, I think, was one of the ones. They did a triple bill, and you're absolutely right. 3 very different ballets.
Yeah.
For somebody who hasn't been to ballet before, it's fantastic. And it's hilarious. It's really really funny. They're brilliant. I love the Royal Ballet.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to take you guys up on a little creative day, Nigel and Ben. We'll have to get a creative day going.
I want to go to Ben's creative day.
Yeah, I do.
I'm in.
Nigel, just for yourself, what do you think makes Birmingham bold?
I think that we could be bolder. I think we need to shout more about what we do. Things are starting to change dramatically. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of films being made here at the moment. A lot of TV programs, a lot of dramas, a lot of theatre. There's a lot going on. We've got the Coventry City of Culture just down the road. That's raised the profile of the West Midlands. And I think if we think bigger than just Birmingham as well, because it's important to draw people into Birmingham from the regions. But the West Midlands as a bigger region has got such a lot going on as well. A lot going on in Coventry. And we started, we've got a long history of success in Birmingham. Thai food tea was started here. Cadbury's, Bird's Custard, Lloyd's Bank started here. We've got a lot of big industries started here. A lot of people don't even know that these started in Birmingham. And we need to shout more about what we've got going on. And build on that. I think we've got some great universities here, and we've got a lot of young people. I think we're the youngest city in Europe.
Yeah, it's true.
So we've got the talent, we've got all the ingredients. We just need to keep everybody in Birmingham and use it in our soup of creativity.
It's time to
And also
start
make
cooking.
that connection, yeah? Make that connection. Yeah. What about yourself, Ben? What makes Birmingham bold for you?
I think I exactly think what Nigel said is we're bold and now's our time to be bolder. I think 2022 is our time to really shine and shout, which a lot of cities, Manchester, kind of do already, and now it's our turn to kind of take that and really shout about what we're about and what we can do. And I think 22 is going to be the year for doing that, definitely. I mean, something that we haven't even touched on talking about food is the amazing food scene in Birmingham as well, and kind of all the Michelin stars that you can experience on your day out. So I'll add those into my cultural day out as well. A Michelin
Please
star
do.
or two in there, yeah. So.
We actually did an episode on food with Bite Your Brum and the Digbeth Dining Club. So that was like one of our favourite episodes because me and Ben are like huge foodies, and we had like so many different spots to talk about that I didn't even know of. And now like my pocket's going to be empty by the end of 2022.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. If you walk around Digbeth at night, outside the custard factory and around there, especially on a Friday night, the smells and the sounds. Oh my word! It's
too
just,
right.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that episode
Delicious.
made us quite hungry by the end of it.
Yeah, I
like,
bet.
I know. And they brought no food. I was like, okay, do we not have some canapes? Thank you so much for joining us. It's been absolutely amazing speaking to both of you. What would you say, Ben?
Absolutely,
Thank you. Enjoyed it.
Yeah, thanks, Nigel.
It's been good fun.
So, thank you to Nigel Harris. Thank you to Ben Wooldridge. Can we follow in your socials and stuff like that? It's 𝗣𝗥𝗢𝗨𝗗, isn't it, for you, Nigel?
Yeah, 𝗣𝗥𝗢𝗨𝗗, 𝗣𝗥𝗢𝗨𝗗 TV, I think is Twitter.
Great, awesome. And Ben, you're on Twitter, aren't you, Ben?
Yeah,
Ben
Twitter at Ben Wooldridge. Yeah, that's me.
Awesome. Well, over to you, Melzy.
Make sure you check out everything Be Bold, Be Birmingham. We might even change the name to Be Bolder, Be Birmingham.
Newsflash for 2022.
Thank you so much for joining us. You can catch the episodes on the Birmingham City Council website. Birmingham 2022 is literally around the corner, so now's your time to get involved. See you soon. Bye.